Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
Hello, and thank you for coming back with us again. It's Talking Books and Writing and Stuff's podcast. I hope you're enjoying this and every other episode we have up there. Today's guest from back east in the Ottawa area, we have Rob Mclennan. Rob is a editor, writer, poet. He's authored more than 50 titles, and we're talking today about a book called The Book of Sentences. But before we get into that, Rob, can you tell us a little bit about your early days? Where did you go to school? Things like that.
I was raised on a farm near Maxville, Ontario, which is about halfway between Ottawa and Montreal. So my schooling pretty much ended with getting my high school diploma at Glengarry District High School. I did remarkably little post-secondary. I didn't really see the point in going to school to get a big debt load just so I could write. So I just sat down and wrote.
Now, when did writing become writing literature? When did it become your actual passion, your reason for living, or has it always been that way?
I always poked at things as a high schooler. I had a social group that was also writing here and there. So I did have some peers that were taking it seriously and said, yeah, this is worth doing. I met some older writers during my high school days that said a version of the same thing. Yeah, this is worth doing. What you're doing is not an insane thing. You can do this, and this is interesting. I ended up having a first child at 20, and that was really if I'm going to do it, I really need to do it. I can't just write one poem a month or anything like that. And I'd read a Margaret Atwood line around that same time that said, if you want full-time out of it, you have to put full-time into it. And so I just launched from that point.
Yep, it's people are always thinking, how do I become a writer? What do I do? Well, you write. That's right. You sit down, you write. If it's on the back of a grocery list or paper bags, a pen and pencil, you don't have to worry about what kind of equipment to have or what format to use. You just sit down and write. Put your butt in the seat and go from there.
So. That's pretty much it. And I've always considered writing to be both sort of a muscle and a study. And you just sit down and do it. I spent my 20s kind of self-researching all Canadian literature, Canadian poetry specifically, back to about 1960, spending months in the library shelves at the University of Ottawa, just figuring out what was out there and what had happened and what was happening. By the time I was 23, I was reviewing new books for the local weekly, so I was getting as much new material as possible. And that's pretty much it. I still review 3, 4, 5 books a week.
That is a good way to add to the library, isn't it? Say you're a reviewer and all of a sudden, hey, I open my mailbox, the Book of Sentences is there. And I go, oh, great, I get to talk about this one. So, yeah, it's a wonderful way to make a living. Did you actually make a living at it?
Oh, God, no. Oh. But
okay.
It was a way that I could be helpful to the larger structure of writing and literature and stuff, and get free books, which helped my own understanding of what was going on around me. I really do believe that if what has already happened if no one bothers trying to understand it, then why bother making more?
So if you don't
right? There's nothing worse than a new book that is sort of okay, but it's doing what someone else did better 20 years ago. And the new author has no idea that this book came out 20 years ago. And, if you're going to approach writing as a study, then you need to know what's going on. I think that's reasonable, right? If you build a computer and take it to a place that sells computers, they're not going to say oh yeah, we're totally excited about this 586 you just invented. They're going to tell you that you're wildly out of date and to go home and actually do some research.
Right. And yet at the same time, a lot of publishers will say, we like books in the style of such and such or so and so. So sometimes I guess you kind of get caught between the two.
Well, like every publisher is allowed to make what they find interesting, and most publishers started because the kinds of work that particular person or group of people found interesting wasn't being published. So it's like, to hell with that. Let's just do our own thing. Like that's Coach House, that's Anansi, that's Caitlin. That's most publishers started by, this is really irritating. This work that we like is not getting published. So if you're doing work that's not getting any interest anywhere else, do it yourself.
Do it yourself. And that's sort of the self-publishing, I'll call it, boom is kind of taken the country, and I don't see anything wrong with it. Do you?
No, God, no, not at all. Like the more that are in the conversation, that can only enrich the conversation, right?
Right.
Like Robert Crouch called literature a conversation, and I really like that. But it means that you have to be listening and talking, right?
Right. Okay. So is there kind of like a routine you follow each day with your writing and editing and publishing and being a critic?
I get up and I get to my desk and I work. That's pretty much my routine. There are some interruptions in a way where I am making lunches for the children, I am making coffee for my dear spouse, I am getting everyone out of the house, and I am back to my desk by just maybe 9 or a little after 9. And I'm just at my desk until I have to start collecting children or spouse at the end of the day.
Yep. A routine. There you are. You're stuck in a routine.
Yeah, I pretty much work 7 days a week.
So no days off. No.
It takes effort for my wife to drag me away from it.
Oh, sort of like, well, the legend is that, Stephen King writes every day, even of the year, even his birthday. But so do you have to do it that way, or is that just what you've found is good for you?
It is what I found works out for me. I really spent my 20s working that muscle of just sitting and doing the work. Because it's easy not to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's easy not to do it when no one is making you do it. So you have to find your own reasons. And for some people, it works better to write in the evening. For some, like I've heard stories of a particular writer that wouldn't write for months, and then one day just said, okay, it's time, and then locked himself into a room for 6 months, wrote an entire book, came out, and then didn't write again for another however many months. Apparently, Margaret Atwood, I had heard, does longhand in the afternoon, and then in the morning would type out the longhand from the day before, sort of re-entering that space, and then longhand again in the afternoon.
Yours, I would assume, is a bit different if you have sort of 7 or 8 different plates that you're juggling in the air at the same time. So,
it's still just kind of poking at things as they need. Like today, I'm working on 3 different poetry book reviews. I have yet to get back into my scribbled notes for some poems I'm working on. It's sort of everything simultaneously and one thing at a time. I usually work on 2 or 3 big projects at any given moment.
So the book we have in front of us, Rob Mclennan, based in Ottawa, is the Book of Sentences. And is it a follow-up, as it were, or a sequel to the Book of Smaller?
In my mind, it is. And there's a third that I already have completed that kind of rounds out that as a kind of trilogy.
And what is the basic theme of them all, or is there one? Or a connecting point?
Well, they're each self-contained books that explore language, explore sort of the structure and the breadth of the lyric sentence, while also talking about stuff I'm reading, talking about being home with the children. Like the Book of Smaller was very specifically single stanza prose poems, because I was home full time with a 1-year-old and a 3.5-year-old after my wife's mat leave ended, and all I could manage as far as attention was a single stanza prose poem. I couldn't write anything bigger or longer.
Right.
You know, when you're home with kids, right?
Exactly.
So like, I'd be writing in parks. I'd be writing that 45 minutes, and one of them might nap. And so the Book of Sentences is sort of the next stage, next step in that, except the poems are longer and kind of pulled apart. Because they're bigger now. They're like, I think at the point I wrote this, they might have been like 5 and 7.
Oh, the kids, the youngsters, yes.
Yeah. Right now they're 9 and 11, so they're off doing their own thing. They don't need me unless they need money or something like that, or to open the milk.
Right.
Yeah.
Lock them in the room and throw food at them once in a while. So
they can get food on their own, though. That's the little one. It's hard to open the milk.
Oh, yes. Oh, you don't have bag milk, do you?
Sometimes we do. Right now, it's just like that big 2-liter carton, and
right.
And you know, when you're trying to rip that, like, it's hard. You have to get like a knife or something.
I know.
It's irritating. I have a hard time opening the stupid thing.
Right. Well, out here on the prairies, there's no bag milk, and in fact, I never had it. I grew up on the West Coast. Never heard of bag milk, and then somebody said, "Oh, do you Canadians all drink milk out of bags?" No, not that I know of.
Hey, I grew up on a dairy farm. I didn't even have processed milk until I was almost 20. And it took another 5 years to get used to picking up milk and not having to shake it.
Oh, right. I know.
Because, we just go out and get a container, fill up a container in the milk house.
Yep.
Right? So I grew up on raw milk completely.
Yep.
And you have to shake it because it divides.
Right. Yep. The real cream comes to the top. Well, do you have one of those? See, I'm way older than you. See, I graduated from high school 3 years before you were born. So we would spend summers at the family farm here, and we had an old hand crank cream separator.
Okay.
Yeah. So crank that, and then we'd sell the milk. You put in these big milk jugs, like metal things, and then you could sell them to the co-op, and then you could get some cash money that way. So that's
yeah. We always had the milk truck show up every second day, so that was always a thing that my mom would say, "We'll go out and get more milk before the truck comes."
Gotcha.
Well, otherwise it'd be emptied, right?
Oh yeah, but be that as it may. So, do you have, like, in mind, back to the main topic at hand? I think we've milked that topic to death about the farm. The Book of Sentences, is there sort of like an underlying ambition that you have for it? Why this book, and what do you think it'll do to people, or hopefully do for people?
I just hope that anyone who is interested in poems and language will be interested in this book. I think there are... I'm not interested in a straightforward sentence. I like putting ideas or words together that kind of bang into each other, and I think sometimes that's where the poem emerges, is these collisions. I'm even my straightforward lines aren't really straightforward. And I'm a big fan of sound and rhythm. You might have noticed how the lines and the words are placed on the page.
Correct.
So even to me, that is notational as to how they might sound aloud. Just allowing for those spaces and those pauses and commas in weird places. Because I think a poem, if it's going to be a visual, right?
Right.
The book, it's a visual medium, so I think it should look interesting.
Oh yeah. So.
And then if I'm going to read them aloud, I need to read it the way it looks on the page, and not just erase all the line breaks or anything like that. Because then why do you have line breaks?
Why do you have line breaks?
If you're not going to read the line breaks, why have line breaks? Apparently that was a thing with William Carlos Williams, the American poet. He read his poems as though there were no line breaks. And it's like, well, then why did you put them there?
Mm-hmm. So he could.
So it felt like, I guess,
so he could
like he didn't understand his own poems in a very weird way, or he was doing something different with it that we weren't understanding, or something like that.
Right. So, so the Book of Sentences. Some of the poems in it. Can we just maybe talk a little bit about? For example, All I Know About Tacoma, Washington.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
I have a half-sister in Tacoma, Washington, and because I've only been aware of birth families as an adopted person for the last maybe 5-6 years, I encountered a half-sister, and she lives in Tacoma, and my first thought, well, what do I know about Tacoma, Washington? I know almost nothing about Tacoma, Washington. And that's quite literally how the poem emerged.
Uh-huh. So, see, in one of my many travels, I lived in Bellingham, Washington for nearly 20 years, so
okay.
I know about Tacoma. And, and you mentioned Richard Brautigan. So,
Of course.
So when he had like the Spring Hill mining disaster and the Confederate general in Big Sur and stuff like that. So
yes, and actually Spring Hill had 3 different mining disasters, not just the one.
Yeah.
As he infers through his title. And of course, you know what Spring Hill is really famous for.
For Anne Murray.
Correct. I was not expecting anyone to get that, but there you go. But so all I really knew about Tacoma was Richard Brautigan.
Yeah, so we've had Ken Cuthbertson on the show a couple of times. He's based in Kingston, sort of a historian, and his most recent book is Blood on the Coal, I think it is, all about the major Spring Hill mine disaster, and Anne Murray wrote the foreword, or the opening piece for that.
Oh, book. Very nice.
Yes, her father was the town doctor, apparently, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's connections everywhere. So that's Tacoma. How about Mother's Day?
What page is that on? I'm working with one hand because I'm holding a phone.
Oh, I just flipped open and saw the title. So.
Oh, it's page 73. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to look at it to remember. You know, because like these are written 2019 to 2021. So that was probably just prompted by Mother's Day.
A space relief. Yeah.
I don't know if that is a good enough answer, but because it's still getting used to. Now that I interact with my birth mother, I do have a mother-in-law that I refer to as mother, and my mother had been dead for over a decade at that point. So, you know, Mother's Day has a swirl of things going on in it, for me at least. So that was pretty much how that poem got prompted.
Well, yeah, so that's understandable. I'm trying to find another one I liked here was Rosie collects a second fish to replace the first fish. So.
Oh my God, yeah, she just bugged us for a fish. And then I wrote a poem for her first fish. She was so excited. And then the fish died within like 12 hours or 24 hours or something.
Oh, no.
So I wrote a second poem about her getting a second fish. And then the second fish died. I'm like, oh, for God's sakes. And then I felt trapped. Well, I have to write about every fish now. So there are 3 fish poems in this collection. And the next book actually has a 4th fish poem.
Fish. Oh, boy.
Because it was like a whole thing. You know, she was 7. She wanted a fish. Just normal kind of kid stuff. But I think there are some really interesting things in the language kind of going through that poem. It's a fun poem to read aloud.
Yes. So, and now can I steal a couple of questions from your blog?
Yeah, go ahead.
This one from, well, just on Monday, I guess, the 18th of August, dating ourselves here. How about where does a poem usually begin for you?
It's sort of like, I think with the language sometimes, or just with the fish poems. It was just thinking about that and kind of playing with words and seeing what might spark. Kind of spinning wheels until the wheel hits the gravel, and then once the wheel hits the gravel, you're just off.
Ah,
So a poem often begins with an idea or a word or with a phrase, and then I just kind of build around that. It used to be that my poems began at the beginning and ended at the end. And I think they kind of still do, but they also tend to start in the middle and just move outward now. So I'm adding a word, taking away a word, moving a sentence, moving a stanza, shortening a stanza. So it'll be a lot of tinkering with a poem, even if it's only a page and a half.
So
yeah, there's a lot of like tinkering and carving and cutting and needing to print it out and look at it, scribble on it again, enter it into the computer again.
Edit.
Yeah,
Change.
yeah. Which to me is part of writing. So like I don't consider editing separate to writing.
No. And when you're writing, do you just like have a thought, write it down, and then maybe come back to it later, or do you work on one thing from start to finish?
I don't really work on one thing from start to finish, but there are times that if I'm circling the ends, I can print off as many as 10 to 20 drafts in an afternoon. Because I just feel like I'm getting closer, and I need to print it to see it. And I look at it, and it's not quite there, and I tweak something else, and I print it again, and tweak it again. It's not quite there, but I can feel that if I just need to just sit there and just do it.
Gotcha. So
yeah, and it's the same thing with short stories for me now too. Working like multiple drafts if I can feel myself so close to the ending.
And another one, probably a good way to wrap things up, is what is the best piece of advice you've heard, not necessarily given to you directly? I think that was question number 9.
I think just keep going. I think that's pretty much it. And if something, a visual artist told me years ago that once you learn how to do something, move on. I think that's a good one, because then you're not falling into a routine, you're not falling into habit. Because then that becomes the worry of replicating old work and then bringing that old work, like kind of reducing its effectiveness by just repeating it. So there's something nice about not knowing what you're doing, because then it might mean that you're accomplishing something that it wouldn't have occurred to you, if that makes sense.
Okay. And I heard something else a while back, is don't let perfect get in the way of good. So it's true, and there are times when I'm circling the ends of a poem that if I feel stalled, maybe I do need to step back until the next day, so I'm not just mangling whatever it is I've accomplished because I feel as though I need to do something, but I don't know what that something is. And another one was just recently I came across this, is go barrel ahead to finish your first draft, no matter, even if you think it's poop, because you can fix it later and go back and redo it, but don't stop just because you think that, oh, this is no good, I'll never get anywhere, I'll never be able to finish, why don't I just quit? So,
completely. Completely. Like that first draft should never be critical. It should just be just getting it out, and kind of pushing out as far as it'll go. And then it's like a second, third, fourth, 10th, 15th read. That's when you kind of go through it and move parts and cut parts and expand on other parts. No, like the first draft should never be critical because then you'll never get anywhere. You'll never get anything done.
Yeah, right. And I learned that years ago writing radio commercials. You had a time restraint. We need this on the air at 3:30. Okay.
Yeah.
Crank it out. So bam, bam, bam. So the Book of Sentences from Rob Mclennan is from the University of Calgary Press. What's your connection to them?
I don't specifically have a connection to them. They just were looking for manuscripts, and I knew some of the people running the press, and I sent them a thing, and they said sure.
They said sure.
And I sent them another thing, and they said sure.
Sure, and then they send you boatloads of money.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be great.
So someone should send me boatloads of money. I don't even care who at this point.
Yeah, same here. So Rob Mclennan, a couple more questions to wrap things up. First of all, do you have an online presence, like websites? You have a blog, I know that, but
I have my daily blog where I review and I interview and I do other stuff like that. I have a Substack that I've been using the last couple of years to prompt my prose writing. I almost treat it like a weekly column to force myself to work on nonfiction, really, like essays and things like that. Yeah, I'm basically hard to not find on the internet.
Right,
it would take real effort to not find me on the internet.
There you go. Just type, and it's lowercase. Everything's lowercase.
Correct.
Okay, and one final question, Rob Mclennan. Do you have any hidden talents or talents nobody knows you have?
Probably. But if I told you, they would no longer be hidden.
Oh, come on. I fell for it.
There you go.
There you go. What's your favorite sandwich?
I'm sure if I have a pint or two in me, I'll admit to at least one of them. But that's maybe a story for another day.
One more. What's your favorite sandwich?
I like a classic club. They're really hard to get wrong, although some places do get it wrong.
Oh, yes. Okay. Rob Mclennan from the Ottawa area. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.